Brian.
Financial technology is getting a lot of attention today, but behind every technology story are people working hard to help advisors build a better business. We're traveling across the country to meet those people and learn why they are dedicated to the success of advisors. These are the innovators, these are their stories. This is FPPad Tech Tour. FPPad Tech Tour is brought to you by Backstage sponsors, InvestNet Tamarack, Orion Advisor Services, and Redtail Technology, with additional support provided by these roadie sponsors. We left Charlotte, North Carolina behind and hit the road for Raleigh Durham, where we connected with Blane Warrene at the American Tobacco campus. Blane's involvement in financial services technology came quite by accident, so I asked him to tell me more about that over a cold glass of lemonade.
Blane, you and I go back a number of years. We met on social media. I knew you from the Arkovi days. I know you now because of the cybersecurity talk that you do, but I don't know how you got to where you are now. I don't know how you got to Raleigh, so I'm curious in knowing what that backstory is for you.
Well, absolutely, and thanks for braving our summer heat, but it turned out to be a beautiful day here for the tech tour, so this is awesome. I accidentally fell into the industry. I started out in high school. I was actually being trained as a chef. I was being apprenticed, and my first job out of high school was as a sous chef. And I had also been pursuing a desire to write. So I wanted to figure out, how do I do this for a living? How do I write for a living? And I really didn't have a plan at that time in 1987, but that's what I wanted to do. And I met someone who gave me, which at the time was extraordinary, their family gave me a computer. Which was an 86, an 8086.
Not even a 286 or 386?
No, it was an 8086.
Cool.
It was a 1988. And I started playing with it, and I was sunk right there. I was just absolutely sunk on technology. And my first job was not in the industry. It was a system administrator for a community newspaper. And by accident, I met someone who said, "We're looking for someone who understands Windows 3.11.
These new fangled computers,
and networking and computers." And I said, "That's great. What do you do?" She said, "I work in financial services." I said, whatever, if it pays, if it pays better than I'm making now, I'm interested. We were very young, newly married, and as soon as I started to figure out financial services and learning about what the industry was about, I really, truly did get hooked, and I never turned back. There has not been a time when I've not been in the industry since about 1995. And it's been slow and progressing through the years, including stops at ING, CBiz, Valmark Securities, and it culminated in Arkovi and Quan Warren being launched in 2009, where I felt like there was a gap in the industry that I was trying to solve inside of broker-dealers. I felt like it could be solved commercially.
So at what point did you get that desire to help advisors and to help reps and help everybody who was offering financial services to the end investor, the retail investor? At what point did you get interested in creating businesses and solutions for them?
Well, the helping advisors component really surfaced back in my ING days, which is in the late 90s. And at the time, a wonderful CEO there, Jack Conley, who I consider one of my primary mentors in business life, said, we're not teaching advisors how to embrace this new technology that's coming out, right? We were just going to the cloud. We were just going off of client and server. And nobody was advocating and telling them, here's how you incorporate this in your business. And as I started to do it inside of ING, I carried that on in my career, and it became a very powerful thing. By the time I stopped at Pac Life, where I met Neil Kwan, it was a practice management division, right? So that was the goal there in the mid-2000s, was let's go out and teach people how to use this technology. And that's when I got hooked on the idea of there's a gap here to fill, where there's a lot of technology consultants in the industry, but there wasn't anybody doing technology consulting that also had grown up in the industry, understood compliance, the regulatory atmosphere, how advisors' business models actually worked.
Now, Blane, I knew Arkovi was a success. It had a great exit with the acquisition by RegEd. But you have to tell me, was Arkovi an accident? Did you stumble into it? Or did you fully intend to develop a solution, roll it out officially? I'm just curious on what the backstory is for Arkovi.
Oh, no, and it's a great story. Tyson Lowry, who co-founded Arkovi with me, and Carl Klein, has been in California for years, and Carl and I knew him through the years since he left GE. We had been hiring him since 2001 to build things for us in broker-dealers. And in 2007 and 2008, Carl and I were actually trying to figure out, we were working together at CBiz, how do we use LinkedIn? Can we officially use LinkedIn?
Yeah.
And he's the chief compliance officer at the time, so he's trying to figure out the rules of the road pre-FINRA 2010 when they issued their initial guidance. And we said there's got to be a way to do this. So we started calling the social networks and asking them, how do we do what email archivers do, right? How do we archive what you do?
And they don't have an answer for you, do they?
No, they said, figure it out, here's an API. Well, that was a first, right? Because before social, there weren't a lot of companies that said, here's our API. Maybe Redtail. Other than that, there weren't a lot of companies that said, sure, develop whatever you want, here's our API. Well, they said, here it is. And we called Tyson, and he actually, when he came in for a family visit, we had breakfast together and said, there's got to be a way to do it. And Tyson said, oh yeah, we can build that to that API. And we literally set out to archive social media at that point exclusively for financial services. We ended up doing some other companies aside from FinServ, but that was the mission, and that's what we raised capital off of, and ultimately that's what RegEd acquired.
Cool, cool. It's been how many years since the RegEd acquisition, and you've since moved on? How long ago was that?
They acquired us in 2012. And I spent a year there kind of as an advocate, right,
Yep.
a stakeholder to help integrate and bring the tool together. Obviously, a lot of people had their hands in making it work.
Sure.
But as a stakeholder. And then at the end of that year, of course, you get out of the way, right? Because your company is now going to become something completely else inside of another organization. And so I've gone back out, and as I mentioned, you know, that high school desire to write and speak, I found I was able to tap that and spend more time doing research, spend a lot of time with advisors, a lot of time with organizations trying to figure out technology challenges, and start to focus in areas where there were gaps, and security seemed like a very natural place to start.
So why the attraction to cybersecurity? I don't know. It's probably one of the things that advisors would love to forget, and maybe that's the attraction to you. Why have you dedicated a lot of your time and the writing that you do to be an advocate for good cybersecurity for advisors?
Well, part of it is there are phenomenal engineers and software and hardware out there that are attacking the kind of the bits and bytes of security, right? No pun intended.
Thank you.
But not a lot of resources were focusing on the behavior. You could spend a lot of money on systems and software, but are you changing the behavior of the people holding the devices?
That's right.
Or out in public or in the airports? You've written about it.
Right, if I'm an attacker, I'm going after the people,
That's
not
right.
the hardened servers and systems.
And that really jumped out at me because as a young technology executive in the broker-dealer space, we dealt with the I love you virus, the Melissa virus, before even executives understood what was going on. And it jumped out at me that it was behavior that triggered the virus, right? It was clicking on the link in the email. It wasn't the gateway, it wasn't the hardware, the firewall. It was opening the link because it looked like Bill sent something to Blane. I'm going to go ahead and double click it because anything Bill sends me is bulletproof. And so I did so, and we generated quite a mess at the time. And I always think back to that as one of the triggers for behavior. And so I spent a lot of time, I really study the behavior of cybersecurity incidents and how advisors work and how institutions in our industry work, and try to unlock the cybersecurity component of behavior.
After the Arkovi acquisition, Blane could have easily transitioned to a different industry, but instead he's moving forward with his commitment to financial advisors, which is something I wanted to learn more about.
Now, you talked a lot about the present, cybersecurity, the post years after Arkovi. I want to know what's in the future. What are you looking to do? What are you looking to do here in the Raleigh Durham area? And what are you looking to do professionally?
Well, absolutely. Well, there's some personal things I'm doing in the Raleigh Durham area, really just to start to cultivate my hobbies a little bit more, which we'll talk about shortly. Professionally, it's really been about getting back into gear with Blane Warrene, with Quan, and we're investing a ton of time studying cybersecurity and advisor technology and looking now to the future, right? What's next? Everybody wants to look at what's next.
Oh, yeah.
And what we try to do is we listen to experts like you and others that are kind of looking over the curve, and we start to think, how does this apply in everyday business use, right? How can we practically apply this for an advisor's business? And so that's the future, really, is understanding how to unlock mobile, how everything becomes the Internet of Things, and how we translate that for advisors to really figure out a way to use technology better.
That's cool. I'm excited
Yeah.
about what you have in store for the future. I want to go a little personal, on the personal side. I think advisors know a lot about you socially from the things that you do on Twitter, the speaking that you do on a national stage. But I want to know one of those things that advisors may not know about you that is a little bit of a more personal side and a personal touch of you as Blane Warrene.
Well, absolutely. I think there's two answers to that, and they kind of go together and define me, right? I'm very, very focused on history. That's just been a passion since I was young.
Well, and you've told me a lot about the history just right here.
Right, and even the rich history we discovered in the home that we rented when we moved here after Arkovi was sold. So I'm really continuing to develop that. I study the colonial times, the roots of our country. But more importantly, I'm also an active musician, and I actually played professionally for 3 years in the early 90s, and had kind of that glint with being a professional musician full-time and on the road. Had a taste of it, found that it wasn't for me, but the musician part stuck. And so I still actively play today in a band that performs around Raleigh now. That was happening in Ohio before. And I have some amusing photos from my young days when I was an active musician with some extraordinarily long hair.
Yeah, you did not have this haircut back in the day, did you?
No, I had hair literally longer than my wife's.
Come on, be more generous. It was
longer than my wife's when we got married, and it's a pretty cute picture. I'll share it with you of me and my wife and our newborn Tara, who's now 26, turning 27.
Oh, that's great.
So it's funny to look at that picture, and then you look at a picture of me speaking in the last 10 months, and I think to myself, how did I get here?
Is that the same guy? Is that really the same guy?
Somewhere deep inside is that same guy. And I let that out on the weekends when we perform around town, and it's a lot of fun.
That's totally cool. I like learning that about you, and I bet advisors are going to love learning about that.
I'm sure we could probably whip up a band in the industry to have at conferences in no time.
You're on. You're on. Let's do it.
And no tech tour visit would be complete without first having a conversation about the Foundation for Financial Planning and their support of pro bono financial planning.
Now, Blane, one of the things that I'm doing as part of FPPad Tech Tour is we're going to cities like Raleigh and seeing great places like this. But I'm also trying to raise awareness and raise money for the Foundation for Financial Planning. So everyone that we interview, we're trying to ask that you make a contribution, make a donation to the Foundation to support their pro bono financial planning grant writing nationwide.
Well, that's a fantastic thing, and as an FPA member, you can count on additional donations to the foundation on that front, because I get the communications that show that they're actively seeking it. So this is a great thing, and it's a no-brainer to raise more awareness, and there's absolutely a need for more pro bono planning, right? To get people trained up to be ready someday to hire a professional advisor. They need the education and the understanding.
Yeah, for sure. I love learning about the story behind you and what you do for advisors, but I also love sharing the mission and sharing the stories that the Foundation does with their grant writing to support pro bono financial planning.
Absolutely. And you know, they're both very personal things, right? Helping an advisor with technology and what advisors then can extend to their clients and also that audience that needs help. So it's very valuable, very important.
That's right, that's right. And ladies and gentlemen, you too can go on to fppadtechtour.com, look for the donate button a little halfway down the page. Any contribution helps. I would love to have your support. Now, you mentioned music, right?
Absolutely.
You played music for how long?
For now 30-something years.
30-something years, right? Did you know that I played trumpet for about 25 years?
No, I did not. That's amazing.
I actually played in the Baltimore Ravens marching band for 2 years at every Baltimore Ravens home football game.
That's outstanding, and I have conflicted emotions about that as well.
Why is that?
Because it was the Cleveland Browns first. And
oh, come on. They left in the middle of the night.
Yes, we
they
did
stole
discover
from
that.
Baltimore.
Thank you, Art Modell.
But I couldn't interest you in a little music throwdown, could I?
Well, it depends on if you know a song that I know.
Do you know the chords to Free Falling?
You know, as a matter of fact, I do. Why don't I get my guitar?
Let's do it. Boyfriend too. It's a long day There's a freeway running through the yard, and I'm a bad boy, 'cause I don't even miss her. I'm a bad boy, breaking her heart. Yeah, I'm free, free falling. Yeah, I'm free, free falling. All the vampires walking through the valley, move west, down Ventura Boulevard. All the bad boys standing in the shadows. All the good girls are home with broken hearts. Yeah, I'm free, free falling. Yeah, I'm free, free falling. That's right on, man. High five for that. Nice.
On the next episode of FPPad Tech Tour.
Oh, wait. My producer is telling me that the reveal of the Kitsis Blue Shirt Vault will be happening in 1 minute. That's right, 1 minute till reveal. Slow. Did you know I had that in me? Come on.
That was slow to start, but that was awesome.
I mean, everybody gets into it in the chorus, right?
And that's what Tom Cruise, that's the first thing I thought of. I tried not to laugh, so I'm thinking of Tom going down there going, I'm free.
That was a lot of fun.
That was awesome.
Thank you, man.